Okay, on this chapter we are going to trace a panoramic in order to have a nice image of a panoramic of our patient. So let's get going. Very easy, and I think it's can be more easy than that. You simply click on the different on the left icon here. You click on CPR. Then depending on what you want to emphasize, in our case we want to emphasize in both, so it doesn't really matter if I choose mandibular or maxilla, but sometimes you want to see the upper part or only the bottom part, so in that case bottom part mandibular. So let's choose this one. Then you see that the views are slightly changing. We used to have 4 views if we had 3D. Now we have only 3. Here we're going to have our panoramic, but first, before tracing, we need to change the angle in order to have a nice arch. This is very, very important, because you will see that we have an automatic detection system that will detect exactly the right shape of the arch. Then I can zoom. This will make the recognition software a little bit more easy for us. And if I click automatic, as you can see, I have already my tracing that is done almost automatically. Now, before clicking OK, I would like to apply some changes just to be sure I get, for example, the ATMs. This is it, for example. Or I can even move slightly the curve in order to be sure that everything is going to be inside. This is quite okay right now. And once you're done, you only click OK. Now, I've done several panoramic myself in the past, and I have my setting of sensitivity already set. It might be that if you do it for the first time, this sensitivity setting is not yet well configured, but I can assure you that if you do it once and you have your sensitivity just okay for your first panoramic, on the second one, due to of course ounce field calibration, you will get the similar setting, and you won't have to do it again. So okay, so let's click OK. And here we have another view now. We have 3D that we can, for example, if we show the surfaces, then you can see which one is which. For example, you see here the green curve is exactly the curve of my panoramic, and as you can see, it's like sheet of paper that has been folded to create an image, a 2D image. Now this is quite interesting image already, and you can be good enough to do some diagnostics and at least to get a good idea of the dentition of your patient. You can, with the wheel mouse, if I apply wheel mouse, you can see that the image is changing. If you look just at the curve right now, and I come here and I move the wheel mouse, as you can see, the curve will go inwards, and on the other side go outwards. So that means that you have here a dynamic image that you can really move. It's not a dumb panoramic where you have simply your image. Furthermore, it doesn't look enough like a real panoramic, so I can change here some presets. I can click on Bone 1 and I can apply some strong sharpening filters, and there you go, you get something that looks like a panoramic. Of course, the target here is not to create a panoramic that is exactly the same, is to in fact simply provide the same type of language as a panoramic has. Now, the last thing we need to do is to have cross sections, because in fact the purpose of this panoramic is exactly to be able to give cross sections. That is what we're looking for, because on the next step we are going to look for implant planning. Cross section can be found easily. You just come here and you can change anything that you want, from longitudinal to horizontal. For example, the right one, I guess, would be this one. Excellent. As you can see, I have many more settings. My screen is not that big, so I would If I would have a bigger screen, I would go maybe by 5 by 5 or 5 by 1, where you have 5 images like that. So looking good. I can, as you can see, I can zoom, and oh, that's something rather strange here. Why? Because in fact, if I move the cursor here, you will have all the 3 images that are updated. Here I can see there is 1 millimeter difference between every image. So if I, for example, I'm interested in one incisor in particular, I can click very precisely, and then I have plus and minus 1 millimeter on each side. So if, of course, if I modify and I do 5 by 1, for example, then I have a little bit more. So I have 2 millimeters here from the point that I've indicated to the software. And quite a good tool, because you can simply click everywhere you want, and you will have always the right image updated. And any image can be changing contrast. You'll see that the other ones also change the contrast, and you can apply the same tools as we have always been using so far, which are in fact the 2D tools on these images. So next, I deleted that. Next thing is, in fact, as you can see, we have some good site here for putting implants. So the idea now is to place an implant on this site here. See you next chapter.